Welcome to the Chattanooga bike video.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna have a lot of stuff up on the screen today, so just so you know, the video, we're gonna break down the 112-mile bike course at Ironman Chattanooga. I'm gonna have some screenshots, some screen records, some recordings of when I rode the course on full gas and what it looks like on there. Let's get into it. I'm Caleb. I did this Ironman Chattanooga in 2023 when it was the old bike course. And then in 2024, I came back again, this time with Katie, and we raced it together. So 2024, what happened?
Yeah, so 2024 was Hurricane Helene came through the same weekend, so the swim was canceled. So the bike was a little bit different. It was a time trial start. So hopefully that will not happen again, but just so you know, if the swim is canceled, it will be a time trial start, and they will let 3 bikes off at a time every 15 seconds, I think it was.
All right, so the bike course in 2024, we got an email less than 45 days out that the old course was gone and they were rolling out this new course. So we're gonna talk a little bit about the new course, just kind of to cut to the punch. The course ended up being 107 miles instead of 112 miles. So it was short last year, and they are doing some corrections, which we'll talk about later in the video about what that new section looks like for 2025. But the bike course, you head out on Riverfront Parkway, you turn on Martin Luther King Boulevard for, I think, just a brief time before you head up to US 27. Let me make sure I got that right. Yeah, 27 North. That's where you're gonna spend the entire bike ride. So the loop all the way north, you're gonna head up to Soddy Daisy and head back. The loop portion was, when we did it, 32.6 miles for each loop. You do that 3 times before you head back into transition. Total elevation gain during the whole course when we rode it was about 4,300 feet. And from what we know, they've added 2 sections where it's adding 250 feet of gain in each of those. So somewhere around 45 to 5,000 feet of elevation gain. I didn't feel like it was like unbearable. I wouldn't call it hilly by any means. Mostly rolling. Yeah,
we both felt like it rolled very fast. Pros to it being on the highway, whereas the roads were really smooth. Yeah. And so we ended up going faster than we expected, I think just because of the smoothness of the roads and it not being that hilly. But a few things that I feel like most people want to know that I've seen a lot of questions about are, the first one is you do ride in the left-hand lane because you're making those loops.
You're gonna be on the right side of the road, so you're going with traffic.
Yes.
Right side of the road. But you're going to be on the inside lane.
Yes.
So that's what you mean, riding on the left side.
Yes, there's 2 lanes. Cars will be to your right. You will be on the inside lane. You will ride to the right. So you'll have cars to the right of you. And then just like usual, faster riders will pass on the left. So you'll hear on your left a lot. And then...
especially the first loop.
Yes, especially when the pros are still out there and they come whizzing by you.
You might even get a yo-yo-yo, but they're gonna be flying by you on the first loop. Yeah. And I would just say on that point, if you're nervous about like cars being next to you, in a lot of sections there were 3 lanes, so cars were way far away from you, and then a lot of it was 2 lanes. Again, cars, they were very courteous. I would say they were getting, way over. I never felt like I had, was, getting swiped by. There were cones there, so, be conscious of the cones. But certainly, as a courteous, good to your fellow racers, make sure you stay over to the right instead of riding right in the middle, because you want to give everybody room to pass you in a safe manner.
Yeah, and there were also a couple parts where there were no cars at all, because there are several spots where they had all vehicle traffic get off the off-ramp, and then they would come back on the on-ramp. So there'd be a little stretch where there were no cars, and that was where they had the aid stations set up. So the aid stations were always on your right when they had all the vehicles. Chickens saw something, they got excited. When all the vehicles would go off the off-ramp and there were no cars, that's where we'd have the aid station set up to the right.
And from what I've read a little bit this year, it sounds like there may be even more sections where they're diverting cars off of the highway. So we may have more of the course completely to the bikes. So we'll find out more this year, but that's how they had it set up last year.
Yeah, and I'm usually one who kind of gets freaked out by cars, and I'll be honest, like it really didn't bother me. Even in the rain, it was okay. It really wasn't bad.
Before we get to the loop part of the highway, I mentioned that you're kind of riding out of town to get to the highway. There's, I would say, like two like minor climbs. One is like really punchy. It's probably within 2 miles of getting out of transition. And I would say, like, my recommendation is make sure you're in the small gear, spin your legs. The last thing you want to do is like grind your legs and grind your gears getting up that. Use that as a chance to get your legs spinning and get used to being on the bike. Don't just grind up it. And then the second is maybe about a mile later. It's not as steep, but it's a little bit longer. And then the third is, it's actually the new addition, but we rode it one time last year, and that's getting kind of up the hill to get onto the highway. And that's about a mile long climb. And I'll talk about that later whenever I get to the new addition, because this year you ride that 2 additional times.
Let's talk about aid stations.
Yep, so you get up to the highway. Where are the aid stations?
So as we mentioned, the aid stations will be off to the right where there's no vehicle traffic. And the aid stations are set up.
They start at mile 10, and then it's, in most Ironmans, it's somewhere around every 15 miles, but the way that this course is laid out, there's 3 aid stations that you'll pass several times because they're all 3 on the loop.
So the nice thing about that is you know where they are. You can like remember it in your mind. And so as you're doing loop 2 and 3, you're very familiar with the loop by that point. So you know exactly where the aid stations are. I personally did not stop at the aid stations. I had my nutrition all on me, but I did stop at personal needs. And personal needs is about halfway.
Mile 60.
And again, it's on the right side. And there's a porta potty there. There was only one porta potty last year. And so I had to pee, but I didn't feel like waiting in line. So I didn't stop.
Yeah.
So no, you may have to wait in line.
Looking at the aid stations, though, at most of the aid stations, there's usually 4-ish or more porta potties at each aid station. So again, you'll be passing those frequently. I've got miles 10, 21, 35, 44, 55, 69, 80, 90, and 104. Again, somewhere in that ballpark, but you're gonna pass them frequently. So if you're using them or relying on them for course nutrition, on-course nutrition, then that's where you'll get it. Again, I'll put on the screenshot what the flow is. I can't remember exactly, but I think it's water, and then Mortal, and then Morton's, and then water, and then Mortal again. Again, I'll clarify that on the screen with a screenshot, but that's the flow of each one. So you'll have 2 chances at water, 2 chances at Mortal hydration. I think that just a quick comment on aid stations and the volunteers. Volunteers at Chattanooga all around are just fantastic. They're the best. And so they're gonna take care of you, whatever your needs are, whatever they can do to help make this a great race. The aid stations are well stocked. I never heard anything on the bike course about any complaints on things running out or running short. So you should be well taken care of on the bike course.
Yeah, another note on nutrition is I actually lost a bottle. It fell out of the bottle cage, and there were several other bottles I noticed on the ground at the same spot. So it was at a spot where we were going over a bridge and there was just a bump. So if I were going to do the course again, I would just rubber band my bottles. Just
great tip.
To make sure that they don't come off. Because
rubber band your bottles, yeah.
That was rough, losing a bottle.
I would say it's nowhere near the old course if you've done the course in the past where you go over the railroad tracks, but there's a couple spots where there's some bumps, and so something to be aware of. Back to personal needs bag. So the way that personal needs works is as you start to come into that zone, there's going to be somebody on a walkie-talkie, and they're going to call out your number. And so as you're coming through the second loop around mile 60, they're calling out number 1475. As you come in, you're going to pull into your area and they're going to run the bag to you. So you'll kind of pull off, stop. They're going to bring the bag to you. They were super awesome. They helped me get my old bottles out, my new bottles in, my nutrition that I was going to carry on me. They helped, handle everything. So they were fantastic. I was in and out of nutrition with like full bottle change and refill my torpedo in less than 60 seconds. I think it was right at 59 seconds. So
That's impressive.
yeah, so they take care of you and they work fast. I've heard stories of it taking people a really long time, but less than a minute, I would say that's worth it if you're relying on personal needs. And then real quick, what did you put in your personal needs bag?
Yeah, so I actually got a cooler. I think we got a cooler at like Goodwill.
Temu.
Okay. And put some ice packs in there. And I had I think I had 3 bottles. Again, I just went to Goodwill, got some cheap bottles for the first set. So I had a couple throwaway bottles. I had my torpedo and then 2 bottles that I had gotten at Goodwill for the first half of the race. Then I discarded those throwaway bottles and had 2 more in my special needs bag in the cooler that I put on. And then I refilled the torpedo. So I had 3 bottles in my special needs, 2 to replace the old ones, 1 to refill the torpedo. And then I also had an Uncrustable. And that was like my lunch because I knew it was going to be a long day. And so it was like something to look forward to. And I don't remember I think I maybe had a few other things in there that I wanted to keep cold. But I would definitely recommend, especially if it's a hot day, to have the cooler and have some freezer packs in there just to keep your bottles cold. That was a great plan.
Our nutrition plan was 1 bottle per hour. So she had 3 bottles before special needs and then 3 bottles for after special needs. Another, just some ideas for what you might want to put in your special needs bag. Well, first, you will not see this bag again. So this bag will not come back to transition. So whatever you put in there, you need to be okay with not seeing that stuff again. So you may not want to put anything valuable in it, but you may want to put some things in it that would give you some confidence and some ease of mind. So potential nutrition, if you think I might be getting hungry, I might be getting tired of course nutrition, something that you would look forward to, as well as like a spare tire or spare tube, a spare CO2 if you had to change your tire or something. Some people will add that in. Cami butter, sunscreen, things that you may be wishing that you had halfway through. Those are just some ideas. Again, if you want to ask the Facebook group, I would recommend going there, asking. You'll get tons of tips on what to put in your bag.
Yeah, and a quick note on why we chose to do our own bottles rather than rely on the course aid station bottles is because they have mortal hydration or water. And we prefer a beverage that has carbs in it.
Yep.
And so we either use Scratch or a drink that Caleb has formulated his own special recipe. And we can make another video about that because it's a great recipe. I actually think it tastes better than Scratch and Tailwind. So anyway, that's why we did our own bottles, is because Mortal Hydration does not have, it's an electrolyte drink,
only,
but it doesn't have the carbs that you need for fueling.
So we made it through the course overview. We made it through aid stations, personal needs. Let's talk about the new addition. So new this year, they're trying to make it 112 miles. I think that that's great. I wish that had been a flatter section. I thought it would have been great to add on at the very beginning of the course, towards downtown Chattanooga, but I guess logistics, I'm sure it's difficult. And so my appreciation for Brian, the race director, great guy, the work that he put into this. So the new addition will be added on at the end of Loop 1 and at the end of Loop 2. And that's going to be on Highway 27. So as you're coming back towards Chattanooga, before you make the U-turn to get back on Loop 2, you're going to go down for about a mile, down a hill. And I would say this is, you need to be careful in this section. So let it fly, let it rip the first 9/10 of a mile, and then get on the brakes and be very cautious as you make the U-turn, because it's going to be a sharp U-turn where you start heading back up the hill 1 mile. I'm not excited about this, but let me tell you how to race this and what to expect. So it was raining when we were heading back into town when we hit this section. And I looked and I averaged around 30 miles an hour during this whole downhill section. So I imagine that by the time I got to the bottom, I was probably going a little faster than 30, just something that you can expect. You're gonna be going really fast down it. It took me 2 minutes and 3 seconds from the top to get to the bottom. And then when you make the U-turn, I averaged about 193 watts going up the hill, and it took me 6 minutes and 25 seconds. So again, it's not a super long climb, but it's a 6.5 minute climb that you're gonna have to end up doing 3 total times, but 2 additional times from last year. So 6.5 minutes, I averaged 9.5 miles an hour at 200 watts. It's gonna suck. But once you get up to the top, then you're back on the flat terrain again. Anything that you'd add to that last kind of long climb? I know it seems like forever ago.
No, I would just say, as I'm thinking about doing that U-turn, and honestly, I'm thinking about all of the U-turns because you make several of them. I would just say, like, if you're a little nervous, like I am, I usually brake when I go down big hills. Like, I'm just more cautious. If you're a more cautious person, just take the U-turn slow. I actually unclipped one of my feet. I unclipped on my left foot as I went around the U-turns, just to have that extra stability in case I needed it. So
don't unclip.
That's just, no, I mean, if you are, not everybody is trying to go over 20 miles an hour. Some of us are just trying to finish and not get killed. So just, if you need to unclip, unclip.
She unclipped.
I unclipped 1 foot as I was making the U-turn.
And she still averaged 20 miles an hour and qualified for Kona.
Just do what you need to do to feel safe.
Do what you need to do to be safe. I think that's the moral really is be safe going around. If you are going slower, go a little bit wider so that if somebody is going faster, they can still stay inside of you.
Be real careful around the U-turns. Be mindful of other people.
You're not going to win the race in a U-turn, but you can absolutely have a horrible day because of a bad choice in a U-turn. So take it cautious. That, like you said, that goes for the other end, the north end as well. You do kind of go down a hill. Again, it's nowhere near as aggressive. It's not a fast downhill, but you're going down, and then as you U-turn, you do climb up. So again, make sure you're in the right gear as you're going down the hill, because once you start going up, you don't want to be in your lowest gear and trying to grind and change gears. I think the last little tip on that is manage your effort and don't blow up. Again, you got to do it, like you still got a lot of race ahead of you. Don't just smash the uphill. It's frustrating and you're going to feel like you're losing a lot of time, but it's part of the course. Manage your effort, get to the top, settle back into aero. That's another tip. I would say this course you're going to be in aero a lot because it's very flat. There's not a lot of rolling terrain where you're going to get to stretch your back and get up except for this climb. So maybe that's the part where you just enjoy being out of aero and stretch your back out good. Get back in aero when you get to the top. Wind, we didn't find any real wind out on the highway. I guess because it's open, it could be windy. If you've got a disc wheel, ride your disc wheel. The final step, getting back into town once you complete all 3 loops. Again, you're back into that like 3 to 5 miles back into transition. Stay sharp, stay mentally sharp, because like she talked about ejecting a bottle, a little pothole, a little cracks, anything in the road that might ruin your day. Stay mentally sharp so that you're aware of what's going on. You don't want to run up on a curb or hit a whatever. You don't want to get a flat tire in your last 3 miles. So stay sharp as you roll back into town. And be ready to head out onto the run. Any other final thoughts for you on the bike course?
When you finish the bike, there will be bike grabbers there. And they will, it's amazing. You just stop and there's people on both sides and they grab your bike. So all you have to do is unclip and head towards T2 to grab your bag. So that's a really nice thing to look forward to.
It's one of my favorite things. Yeah, it's fantastic. All right, so last couple tips. I would just say, like, to summarize everything, start easy, manage your effort. You don't want to burn too many matches in the first 5 miles. Hey, keep a steady effort. Again, like if you're surging, it's going to take a lot out of you. If you can just average, consistent watts or consistent heart rate, you're going to be much better off in the long run. You've got an extra 5 miles, just accept it. I think that's where I'm at, especially for where the 5 miles are. Just accept it. It's a new course. Not comparing it to last year because it's something new. Just accept it and be ready to roll with it. Heat factor. Stay on top of your hydration. So last year it was overcast, rainy, and cool. We were able to fly and it felt fantastic. It was so nice. So you can pray for cool weather, yes, but the truth is Chattanooga's historically been a lot warmer in some years, but still very warm in other years. Either way, it's gonna be warm. So stay on top of your hydration. If you haven't peed on the bike or peed in a porta-john, however you choose to go. If you haven't done that twice during the bike leg, then you probably aren't up enough on your hydration and you're gonna pay for it on the run. Or at least, to say it another way, you're not gonna be able to run to your potential if you don't have to pee at least twice on the bike. All right, lastly, my encouragement to you, be kind out there, encourage other athletes. We need this, we're all in this together. I think that's what makes us so beautiful, is that there's so many people out there cheering everybody on, and it's such a special thing. Keep a positive perspective. That positive mindset is going to help get you to the finish line. Good luck and Godspeed.
Yeah, and we would love to hear from you. So if you are racing Chattanooga, drop a comment below. And if you have done Chattanooga before, let us know what did we forget, because the bike is a long time, so I'm sure we're missing something. So what is a tip that you would give for someone for the bike course in Chattanooga?
All right, I'll be in Chattanooga. I'm racing again this fall for my 3rd year. I cannot wait to be there with you. So if you will, do us a big favor. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers. That's our big goal, is to hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you would do us a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, especially because our next video is going to be on the run course. So if you don't want to miss that, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave us a comment. We appreciate the community. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you out there. Best of luck.
Help us get 1,000 subscribers.